welcome to Good Humans Podcast. Adam Jelic, how you going, mate?
Good, yourself? Thanks for having me on board.
Mate, I'm doing really well. It's nice to be down here in Melbourne, catching up in your warehouse here for MiGoals, the best goal-setting journal in the world, if you ask me. I've had a few great ones from you.
I tend to agree with you.
Yeah.
I have to.
I bloody hope so. Goal setting is, such an important thing for everybody, I think, in life. It really helps us, have direction and have clarity on where we want to go. And, yeah, you've created an amazing business here with MiGoals, which we're going to catch up to and learn a bit more about. But the first question I always ask people is, what are you grateful for today, right now in life?
What am I grateful for? I always say my family, my girls. I've got two lovely girls, 13-year-old and a 10-year-old. And, the gratitude, once you have kids, you realize that's it. And there's nothing that you can be more grateful for than your own kids. So definitely them, seeing them grow up, seeing them evolve to become adults, young little adults. When times are tough, I always go back to them. It's like, that's what I'm grateful for. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So,
and I love, just before we started recording, you were saying how your 13-year-old keeps you very accountable with all the stuff going on in life.
She is my motivation. You know what I mean? In terms of, she does definitely keep me accountable. Harsh but fair. You know what I mean? I tend to look at it, it's like some of the stuff that she says to me, it's like, are you serious? But, I take it with a grain of salt and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to prove you wrong. You're my inspiration. I'm going to prove that it's possible to do whatever you want in life.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Well, you've been doing just that. You've started an amazing business. It's been around for about 14 years, you said. So we've got plenty to chat about when it comes to goal setting and building a business. But I want to get to know, Adam before the goal setting, Adam before all of that and how you got there. So let's go back to the start. Where'd you grow up? What was life like as a kid? Siblings? Family?
Yeah.
How was your family dynamic up until high school?
Okay, so born and bred Melbourne. Grew up in southeast Melbourne, so in a place called Willis Hill. European background, so my parents both immigrated from Croatia back in the 1970s. So anyone coming from Europe back in the 1970s, their whole approach to life was, new opportunities in Australia, a very safe approach. So they came over. My dad was a forklift driver. My mum worked part-time in accounts at Myer. It was just like, save up, pay the mortgage, play it safe.
Yeah.
So my whole growth or my whole childhood was based around that. It's like, just go to school, get good grades, go to university, get a good job, and that's life. Pay your mortgage. Yeah. Don't do anything else. Don't do anything crazy. But it was a good childhood in terms of, we weren't wealthy, but we were middle class, and we, got to travel. Travel, good food, good community. At the time, our community was focused around soccer. So growing up, that was my passion. That was my, extraordinary thing that I was going to do with my life. So I started playing soccer at the age of 6 at a club called Chelsea in Melbourne. Croatian club, all Croatian kids. And that was literally it. That's where it started. So from a childhood perspective, it was, Croatian background, play soccer, weekends were consumed with my dad being a wedding singer. So he was a wedding singer in the Croatian community, a popular one, should I say. He's played at a lot of weddings for Croatian weddings. So every weekend we'll be at a dance, to 2, 3 in the morning, running around the centre. But yeah, it was a good childhood. Can't complain, you know what I mean?
Siblings?
Older brother. Yep. So he's 2.5 years older, Tom.
He's soccer, mate.
He was soccer as well. So that's what we grew up, we grew up on soccer, literally. We started that club. So at the time, it was my parents and their friends that started that club here called Chelsea Hajduk. It was good times. Simpler times.
Yeah. As a kid, there's not any worries, but I'm sure mum and dad had a couple in the background that
they did, but they never showed it. Yeah,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
You're an adult, you realise, maybe the kids don't know, but there's a bit going on when your daughter says to you, "Why don't you have $1 billion business, Dad?" You're like, doing pretty bloody good. I'm trying my best.
The expectations are different now. You know what I mean? What's possible has changed a lot compared to the 80s and the 90s.
And being a first generation immigrant family, opportunities change a lot as well. You understand the culture a lot more. You see the opportunities a little differently.
And not many people in that culture, you know what I mean? When I go to the culture, not many people in the Croatian community, everyone was a labourer, everyone was working with their hands, labourer, bricklayer, carpenter. So it was, the business, there wasn't any real entrepreneurial flair outside of those businesses. So that's all I knew. Literally, I didn't know of any entrepreneurs growing up.
Sort of families.
Literally, it was just, they're all workers, they work with their hands, they've got a small little business, they
get by, they support their family.
Exactly.
That's it.
So, never had that exposure, I guess, to the entrepreneurial world until I was older.
Yeah, tell me about high school then. What was high school like for you?
High school was an extension of primary school, which was, soccer, grades. That was it. My sole focus was soccer. Yeah. So I learned quite early on, and I saw through the community that there was a couple of people that were actually getting better, and they were starting to get picked up by the Victorian squads, the Australian squads. So when you look at, my journey, that's all that I saw. I saw these players, okay, they're playing for Victoria, they're playing for Australia, that's possible. So then I'm growing up and thinking that's got to be my road to success. That's got to be my extraordinary journey.
Yeah.
So that's what I saw them playing, and so I just continued just putting my focus into playing soccer.
Yeah.
Doing well at school, getting through, having a good time, but really dedicated to playing soccer because I wanted to become a professional athlete.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like it's such a common thing for young Australian kids. I literally started writing my book on the plane yesterday down here, and the first chapter is about when I was 6 years old. I mean, so lucky when I was 6 years old. I grew up in Sydney. I had the Olympics in 30 minutes away from my house at 6.
Yeah.
So that set this goal for me of being a professional athlete. But it also comes with this like unhealthy thing I didn't realize at the time of, oh my God, that person's amazing. Everybody around Australia loves them.
Yeah.
I want to be like them. But
Yeah.
you don't see the struggles that they're facing. You don't see the challenges, the hard work it takes to get there. You just see them standing on a podium, everyone loving them, the paper, the radio, the TV talking about them. So it kind of creates this unhealthy like appreciation for a goal that you don't realize comes with other stuff to it.
Oh yeah, always. I mean, but the good thing is at least you saw that, and that's what I saw. So there was exposure to that. So
Absolutely.
all of a sudden became possible.
Exactly.
You know, if I had exposure to people in business, starting companies and that, I think my childhood would be totally different.
Yeah, it's interesting like that. Like if your parents aren't entrepreneurial, if your parents aren't, business owners or good with investing and doing property and real estate, like we end up a product of basically our upbringing.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's so hard to, break free and get into that entrepreneurship, to break free and get into that investing, unless you are willing to, break free from sort of the family line, which is really tough. So what was the end of high school like for you? Did you get to a point in soccer where you were competitive and professional soccer was a potential, or did you get to a point? Yeah, like at the end of school where you're like, well, wow, this is like you were talking to me off air again before that, like 0.3% of kids end up becoming professional and making any money, and I bet it's probably 0.1% make enough for it to be like a career.
A decent career,
yeah.
Well, look, at the age of 15, I was playing in the senior squad there at Chelsea. I was having a great, sort of peak in my career, I'd say at 15, 16. I was playing really good confidence, you know what I mean? I was feeling good. I had people around me saying I was great. And then I got sort of opportunities. I remember there was a few opportunities that popped up. There was a feature article in the London Times when Chelsea were in the FA Cup final. They called up our Chelsea here. And then they sort of mentioned, the president here mentioned, we've got some good young kids, and there's a kid like Harry Kewell called Adam. So then I framed it because that went out to, that was in London, that was in the UK. So definitely I was on the road to getting there. I had a contact at the Melbourne Knights, which was the old National League. The senior coach there said to my dad, bring your son down. He saw me play at 15, 16. He goes, you can train with the seniors, which that's the National League.
Yeah.
And then I broke my leg. So in a game, a guy slide tackled me and he broke my leg, and I was out for like 3-4 months. And then I just never came back the same. So I think it's a confidence game. So when you're peaking, when things are going well, when you're, people are telling you you're doing well, you're playing well, you're aggressive. I had the mongrel in me at 15, 16. After that injury, I lost that mongrel. So I had somewhat talent. I wasn't super, super talented, but I was a good worker up and down the line. But I just didn't have that mongrel.
Yeah.
And like I saw that in retrospect, looking back at my career, the ones that made it, you look at them and they just had that self-confidence. White line fever. They walk across that white line. There's no friends. Yeah. It is literally do or die in there. Whereas I walked across that line, I was just like, oh, am I good enough? All these things would start popping up. I got to a point where I trained with the seniors, done the pre-season with the seniors before I went into the A-League. I didn't make the squad, and they just sort of dwindled off. But throughout the time, from 16, that's when I started setting goals.
I was just about to ask that question. When does goal setting come in? Because I was going to say, if you knew what you know now about goal setting and having that to be your North Star to give you direction, do you think it would have been different? But you already heard about goal setting.
I heard about
How did you get exposed to it?
So reading books, always thinking outside the box in terms of what makes them special. So, there was curiosity. So in terms of I read books and my goal is, there was all these mentions of goal setting. I was like, what, that makes sense. If I want to sort of improve my odds of success, what can I do? And goal setting was that tool. So then I remember writing my first set of goals, black piece of paper. We were at my grandma's house because we were building a house in Glen Waverley. And, I got out coloured pencils. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say, but I got out coloured pencils because of a black piece of paper and write all these soccer goals. Play for Australia, play for the Melbourne Knights senior team. long story short, I didn't make any of those goals, but it got me into the process of setting goals.
Yeah.
It got me into the process of, working harder. So having some form of direction, having clarity. It's like, what do I need to do? It's like, all right, let's train harder. I was always at the park playing, and that's actually where my wife saw me always training around the park there by myself, running, doing drills. So the self-discipline was really there.
Nice.
But then, it's just, it's a tough game.
Broken leg, lack of confidence. It's a tough world out there. What was the end of high school like for you? Where did you think you were going to go? Did you have ideas of like, I'm going to go study this at uni? I ask that question to most people and I get a myriad of answers. So what did the end of high school look like for you? Where did you think it was going to go? Where did it go?
I mean, I put my eggs in the basket of being a professional athlete, and it was sort of at that point I realized it's, we went overseas to Croatia, played in a tournament. Things went okay, but, I could sort of see that this probably isn't going to be my career path. So I get back and I go to uni just to go to uni. So I'd done a health promotion degree down at Deakin University. I went there for 6 months. Didn't know anyone. So, lots of my friends went to, different unis. So I was sort of there by myself. And again, my own little self-confidence let me down. So I didn't make any friends really. And I just didn't like it. I didn't like the environment. After 6 months, dropped out, deferred. Thought I'd go back. And then I went on to become a personal trainer.
Okay.
So just to sort of get into the, my approach was this won't be forever, but I'm going to do something just to start working. At least I enjoy sports. I enjoy staying fit. So that was the approach at that time.
Yeah. And then early 20s, personal trainer for a while?
Personal trainer. Started business development, selling personal training courses. Then I went into an internship at Toshiba selling photocopiers. These are all just fillers.
Yeah.
And I knew that. And I totally knew that. So in terms of, me going into these jobs, it was just like, this is only for, just to get some experience, just to do something, make a little bit of money. The last job, proper job, or the last 2 jobs I've had were selling DVD vending machines into all the shopping centres when that was a thing.
Yeah.
So I went, throughout Victoria, Tasmania, just found all these spots and put DVD vending machines there. But these were all fillers, and I always had in the back of my mind, I want to do something different. I want to do something on a global stage. My thing was, why can't I? I'd see all these people around me in the media, not directly, but they were doing stuff with their life. I was like, why can't I? And I had this, I wasn't angry at the world, but I was angry at myself. So I started developing this sort of beef with myself. It's like, come on, you're better than this. But there was always that action paralysis of like, where do I start? What do I do? It's just that confidence is just to get it started. It
sounds like action paralysis, but also what I'm hearing that is quite rare. People are like, I don't know what to do. So they kind of just get actual paralysis and don't go and do anything. They kind of just like get a job that doesn't upskill them, that they're not using it as a stepping stone. Whereas it sounded like for you, you're like, okay, I'll probably go do this DVD thing so then I can learn sales. Okay, I'm going to work as a PT so I can learn to connect with people and learn how to take care of my health.
There was always method to the madness in terms of what I was picking.
It sounds like you might have felt, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to keep stepping forward towards finding the right thing.
And I got pigeonholed as, you know what I mean? There was friends that calling me lazy. What does he do? He doesn't do anything. But there was always aces up my sleeve. If I was playing a game with myself where it's like, you might not think I know what I'm doing, but I'm learning and there's something's got to pop soon.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for me to actually do it. So I had a book of ideas. Still at that age, I was always thinking about different things.
I'm like that too. I've got so many ideas. I just need executors.
I mean, that's the thing, right? There's different types of people. I'm not an ideas person. Every day, I went to a golf day the other week and I came up with an idea after. I was like, wouldn't that be great? I sat in bed for like 2 hours just going,
oh my God, I've got to tell you an idea at golf. I bet you it's maybe similar. And it's definitely not similar, but I've got an idea business, and I want to write that down and remember to tell you after. Remind me after to tell you about my golf idea. Me and my mate are about to go into business, and as an entrepreneur, you'll hear it and be like, "Oh my God, it's the best fucking idea ever."
It better not be my idea, man. What if it's the same?
Has it got to do with video cameras?
Yes.
Oh God,
but in a different concept.
Yeah. You don't know what my concept is. We'll talk about it after. One thing that you touched on before that I love, well, actually 2 things. I'm going to get back to this other part that I was going to ask you. You mentioned that your friends kind of judged you and called you lazy. How'd that make you feel, if you can reflect back on that? Did you feel, nah, don't worry, I'm going to work it out? Or did that, make you feel lesser? Did it make
I don't know. It made me feel better.
Really?
Because I sort of knew what I was doing. Do you know what I mean?
I'll prove them wrong.
No, it wasn't not the prove. It's just like, you don't know what I'm doing, but I know what I'm doing. So it's still at the same time, I call this, 20 to 26 or 18 to 26 was, I still saved money. You know, still out of that time, I still had a decent deposit set up when we got married, and when me and my wife got married and bought our house. Like, people didn't expect that.
Away.
I was chipping away, just sort of keeping quiet.
Yeah.
And then I had these other things, like, and I always told myself, aces up my sleeve. You know, you may think of me this way, you might look at me and go, oh, but I know what I'm doing.
But that comes from like a deep self-confidence. And the other thing that you just said that I love is where you said, like, why can't that be me? And a quote that I replay in my head all the time. Because sometimes you go, why can't that be me? But then the other flip side to that, which some people would be, oh, I couldn't do that. Like, yeah, I don't deserve that. I don't have the opportunity. Find every excuse why that can't
victim
be
mentality.
You. Yeah, and then something that I always try and remind myself, I just use this little quote, like, if not you, then who?
Yeah.
Like, someone's going to make it in that space. Why not you?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I say if it is to be, it's up to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Same thing. And it was, you know, we can all be victims. You know what I mean? Everyone's got a story to tell themselves. The billionaire that's, you know, a son of a billionaire, he's got a story to tell himself. There's one that don't have anything. There's, you know, I always say middle class is always probably sometimes the toughest one because we feel like we've got something to lose.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If we take a
risk, you end up in poverty. Yeah.
It's like Rocky. He talks about when he sold Rocky, when they wanted to buy it off him and not him be in it. And he's like, you know, I had nothing to lose. He was living on baked beans. So he's like, if I didn't take that, if I didn't pursue that opportunity, you know, I could always go back to doing what I was doing. Whereas in the middle class, we're always scared. It's like, if things go wrong, I can't go back. You know what I mean? Whereas when you're at the bottom and you can always, it didn't work out, you can go from there. So I've always sort of like, we assume we've got something to lose, but we really don't.
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing to lose is like not having a crack.
That's
like
the biggest thing.
The worst thing is that mindset forever in your life of what if? What if I did that?
And there's a study there, right? Yeah. You know, Bonnie Beer, she was a lady working in palliative care in New Zealand. She wrote a book. It was a blog that turned into a book and it became this famous thing.
Yeah, the 5 most
regrets of dying.
5 regrets of dying. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's talking to people in the end of it, and it was like that they didn't do the things that they wanted to do. Essentially, that was what it was.
Living with integrity to like what they're.
What if, you know what I mean? And that bites me. You know, I'm in a position where I'm quite comfortable. And, you know, you can sort of leverage that. And that's my daughter's like, you're too comfortable with that. You're living like a retired, you know, semi-retired person. You know, don't you want to do so?
Create that new excitement in life.
You know, that's the scary part.
But some people enjoy that. Like my dad, you know, has just sort of is exactly, I guess, probably like your dad, like has his job as a draftsman. He's done that since he was in his mid-20s. He's just about to pay off his 30-year mortgage and retire. And I'm like, but he's happy and he's okay with that. But because for me, I'm not. I'm like,
I think there's a sense of acceptance.
Yeah.
You know, if you can accept the situation
but he's accepted it and he's happy. And I'm like,
but that's it. Yeah.
Who's to judge him? Like my mum's like, I want you to go travel and we should sell the house and move up to here. And he's like, but I'm happy. The change scares me more than the happiness.
And
that's
brilliant. That's what you want to find, right?
You want contentment.
Everyone wants to find that, be at peace with themselves. If you can find that place where you do whatever you want to do.
No right or wrong, but if you've got the inside burning, like you obviously did, like I do, then if you don't chase it, that's when I feel like you end up in a really tough spot.
Yeah. 100%.
So tell me about, I'm sure there was probably a business idea before MiGoals, or was that the first one? And it's time to work because a lot of people try a few. I mean, to be honest, Good Human Factor was the first thing that I actually pulled the trigger on, and I haven't done anything else. It's 5 years in, so I'm. You know, there's stories of first go round at working. Yeah. Was there any business ideas before MiGoals?
There was definitely ideas. If I go back to my notebook, I'll be probably cringing at some of the ideas. It was just random ideas. I mean, before that, I was a personal trainer. That was officially my first business, which I probably didn't take too seriously. I went out of my parents' garage and I was just like, oh, damn, my client's coming. I don't really want to do this.
Were you doing goal setting with your clients?
Not really. I was doing my own thing. So, the way MiGoals comes about is the story actually is I'm in a PD session at one of the jobs and his name was Dr. something and he was talking about personal development in terms of goal setting, in terms of, all the stuff that I'm into, right? I've been reading about it. And then at the moment he's like, all right, I want everyone to grab a scrap piece of paper and I want us to write our goals. And I remember in that moment thinking, I do this, a scrap piece of paper. I've done it so many times. Paper gets lost. There's not enough meaning behind it. Wouldn't it be cool if it was in a diary format, something that I carry with me every single day so I can look at it? That's where the light bulb came off. And then I told the boss at the time, he sort of goes, yeah, not really a good idea. Sat on it, didn't do much with it, kept coming back to it. It's like, I need this product for myself to achieve my other goals or other ideas that I've got.
Yeah.
So then it gets to a point where I draft it up, go on the computer, literally type it out on Word, print it, get a scrapbook book, paper, and then stick all the pages. Go to my best mate at the time, who then becomes my business partner, and I say, "Can you design this for me?" Again, there was hesitance, right? I was in a community where I was surrounded by people that, goal setting was that cringe-worthy 1980s, sun in the back, Anthony Robbins. We don't do that. That's not cool.
Yeah.
So there was hesitance from him. It was like, just get it done for me. Let's design it, see what happens. So that's where it sort of comes in. It was just got to the point where I had enough, and I was just like, take the first step, take the second step, take the third step. Just so because I needed a product to use for myself, and I couldn't find anything.
Yeah. So let's talk about starting a business now, because you're 25, 26 years old.
Yeah.
Pretty, not super young to start a business, but in your 20s is a scary time at the best of times to start a business and go all in on something. So how what were you doing when you started, and how long after the idea and the first sort of print run before you could actually call it your job and your business?
Okay, so there's a decent time frame there. In terms of,
because I think this is important, because a lot of people, I think, when they go to start a business, start it and just go all in. Like, I spoke to a guy the other day who was like a tradie and really wants to get into mental health speaking stuff. He's like, I've left my job, I've gone all in, I'm doing a mental health podcast now and this, and I'm like, I was like, it looks
hopefully
like
it works well.
I'm like, good luck.
Yeah.
But I've had so many privileges and opportunities through my family, through my surfing career, through so many things. And it's taken me 4 years to get it to a point where I can, comfortably call it my full-time job.
Yeah.
So when I see someone else do that, I'm like, it takes like balance of, okay, I'm working a job that I don't really like, but it gives me more motivation to build this, so then I can not have to work that. So when someone just goes all in, he's like, now I'm just trying to like get sponsors and stuff.
Credit to him, but
absolutely.
In terms of the chances, one of my regrets is if I look back on my thing, if someone says, what are any regrets? And it's like, I wish I had the courage to start my ideas earlier. 18, 19, just sort of fail. Yeah. Get onto the next one, fail.
Because you learn so much.
You learn, you build the confidence.
That you don't make again. Yeah.
And like I start, like, let's say 24, the idea sort of starts to take shape, and I'm starting to sort of get the drafts ready. 26 officially is when the business starts. 2010. Yeah. So 2010, right? I've turned 26. I proposed to my wife probably 12, 15 months back. Got married in 2010. So May I get married. At around the same time, we buy a block of land, so got a mortgage. Yeah. And then probably a few months later down the track, we work out we're having our first child. Mm-hmm. So I've had to grow up quickly. Very. And I'm already in a position, like, I've married another Croatian girl. Again, brought up on those similar values in terms of safety. Yeah. Don't do anything crash. Don't do anything. We weren't brought up on you can take on the world. You can do whatever you want. Most of us weren't.
Yeah, raise your family, get a job, buy a house.
And here I'm like, I think I might start a diary business. And they're like, you're crazy. She's like,
They're probably already looking at the PT thing going like,
yeah. Oh. But that was way before, but it's just like, it's not like, who?
Oh yeah, because then you were doing the vending machines,
internship and that, you know what I mean? So I was just doing all these bits and pieces in between. But anyway, I get married and I start the business. But when I started the business, so we launched the first diary August 2010. Yeah. I think September, I've started a new full-time role. So all of a sudden I've started a business, gone into a new full-time business,
what
got
was
married.
That job, the full-time role doing?
Uvi. That was the DVD vending machines.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, back in the day. So they got bought by Hoyts. Good startup story. They found that little transition before it was all into streaming based on Redbox up in the US. So there was still a market there, and they knew that for the next 5 or 6 years. Yeah. So all these things have happened to me in life.
But you're seeing like, oh, look at this business idea that these guys had, and like, oh, they're growing.
I just want to do something.
I want my thing to make the money, not just be the working for the person making the
money. Or just have no regrets. Yeah. Like, just do something. Actually follow through with one of the ideas and get it going and see what happens. At least, like we said, diary with no regrets. At least no one can take that away from you. If you give it a crack, Man in the Arena, the speech Tom Brady talks about. It's like, regardless if it works or not, regardless if my goals stop tomorrow, no one can take away what I've built, what I've done, the impact that I've made. So I'm proud of that. Yeah. And that was my thing. It was just like, come on, Ads, just get it done. Yeah. I was like, I'm getting sick and tired of myself, just sort of always finding an excuse in my head not to get it done. Yeah. So then I finally get things going. And, one of the big turning points for me was actually calling up our first retailer and getting that first answer of a yes. Yeah. Getting that first order. And it was Readings Carlton. And I remember going, into the front room of the job that I was working. I'd pick up the phone, call them up, And within 30 seconds, I'm on the phone with the buyer, and he goes, "Yeah, I like the idea. Yeah, sounds good. Come in, we'll have a meeting, and yeah, should be good." And I had that moment where I was like, "Shit, that was easy."
Yeah.
You know, I always had this fear that they're going to say no, that they're going to hate it, that they're going to hang up on me. And within 30 seconds, I've got like potentially my first order with a decent, independent retail bookstore.
Yeah.
And then that builds confidence. And then it's to the next step. All right, who else can I call? And then I start leveraging these, or, once I start getting these orders.
Got it. Do you guys want it too?
Exactly. I've never met 3/4, on my interstate. Like, I never met them.
Yeah. It's just
and I was just calling up and go,
trusting.
Readings have got it. Do you want it? Send us a copy. We'll say, yep, done.
Yeah. Let's talk about the first journal. Did you just start with one? What was the first one?
It was a diary. So it was
the diary?
Yeah, the diary. So 2010, I mean, the format hasn't changed too much. Obviously, the design's changed.
The format, because people listening right now are probably like, well, what is a MiGoals diary?
Yeah.
And why are these bookshops picking it up? And was there anything competitive sort of base out there that was similar?
I remember, so what happened was KKK obviously was big, right, at the time. And they didn't have anything specific around goal setting. And then guess what? Before I launched in August 2010, I walk into their store and they got a goal setting journal. And I'm like, shit, my heart sank. I was just like, damn, they've worked it out.
Beat me to it, yeah.
But then in terms, like looking back, that was a great thing, because then that was the start of that market.
Yeah.
So there wasn't really anything out there like that. And there was stuff from Tony Robbins, all these personal development gurus, that was quite intense.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I love this guy. I listened to his tapes, bought his books and that, but it's just way too intense. Like, user friendly, the UX design of it wasn't great. Yeah. So I just wanted to simplify, and I kept asking myself, what would make me write my goals?
Yeah.
What information do I need? What layout? What structure? What are the questions I want to ask myself? So most of the products that we've made has been my intuition in terms of what do I need?
Yeah.
And I've realized whatever I need, there's millions and millions of other people around the world that need the same thing. So I always tell people, no matter what your idea is, you can be rest assured that there's probably millions of other people around the world that have something similar. Unless
same
it's just,
needs.
Yeah. Well, I'd say most humans are very similar.
Yeah. So talk me through the concept of the first one. Like, what if someone picks up a MiGoals back then or even now?
Yeah.
What can they expect, and why is it going to be beneficial to them?
I think what's made us different, especially let's say our Goal Digger Planner, which is an extension from our first diary, it's the self-awareness piece at the front.
Yeah.
Most people don't ask themselves these questions: purpose, core values. They don't think about their vision. I was always a good dreamer. I've been a great dreamer. My execution's been lacking at times, but in terms of getting, priming yourself or getting to know yourself is something that a lot of us lack. You could probably ask, 10 out of 20 people, and it's like, have you ever written, like your dream or your vision or your
Do you know
purpose?
what your values are?
And like, nah, it's in my head.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was that priming stage at that self-awareness piece, which will then go into your goal setting, your vision. So you got that grandiose vision that you want for your life in the next 5-10 years. And then it's like, okay, let's reverse engineer. Let's pick a couple goals based around that, and let's break it down.
Yeah.
And then let's work out why it's important. Let's work out how you're going to do it. Let's put a time frame on. Let's put these simple questions, right, that are going to help you increase your odds of success.
Yeah.
Or it's going to help you go back and see what you need to do next. Just simplify it. Make it logical.
Yeah. Which I think is so important, because, I mean, if you ask anybody listening right now, would you want to increase your odds of success towards the goals that you have in the future? Everyone would say yes. Writing it down. I know there's incredible data, and I'm not going to butcher it and make up a number, but you can go look it up. But there's incredible data that shows you're a massive % more likely if you've written a goal down. And then extension of that, if you've like broken it down into smaller steps, and extension of that, if you've told someone about it, if you have an accountability person. So like, there's so many levels to increasing your chances to improve, to tick off your goals if you write them down. And I'm a sucker for it. I'm like at the start of the year, write them down just to have a bit of clarity where I'm going. And I'm going to be honest, like, you've given me some journals over the last couple of years, and I just struggle with it. So if you're listening right now, like, I struggle with it, and I'm going to be honest, like,
it's not for
not for everyone, and that's a great thing. But I still do the goals at the start of the year, and the way that I look at it, and I mentioned this to you before we started chatting, is I see writing down your goals is like you literally give yourself a compass for the start of the year. And imagine day one of 2025, you get put on a boat out in the middle of the ocean, you can't see land, and you got no goals written out. You're just going to start paddling in any direction. once you have the compass, which let's call them your goals, okay, I know my goals are north.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to start paddling in that direction.
Start taking action
It just
towards
gives you that little bit more clarity to know which direction to walk rather than just spinning around in circles in your boat out in the middle of nowhere.
100%. And especially if you pick the right goals.
Exactly.
If you pick goals that you're actually passionate about, and then it's sort of like, all right, what do I need to do today? You know, you build progress every day. And the Tony Robbins quote is progress equals happiness, especially when you're going towards something that matters.
Exactly.
And it's just like, it becomes addictive, right? It's like, oh, I'm getting closer. And I always talk about like, you know, Elon Musk, right? That goal to colonize Mars is ridiculous. Like if you looked at someone just said, hey, I want to colonize Mars, you're a dreamer.
Yeah.
There's no chance. But then there was a document on his SpaceX website. I don't know if it's still up there, but there was a document at the bottom which was like year, 2024, 2025, he broke it down, what he needs to achieve to get to the next level.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you see this picture being painted. It's just like, shit, this guy might actually do it.
Yeah.
Because he's got to build the rocket, he'll test this, then he'll go on to that. So he's reverse engineered this audacious goal, like probably the biggest goal ever.
Yeah.
And you're like, he's got a chance.
Yeah.
So goal setting is so powerful in terms of, but that's all it is. It's just direction.
Yeah.
It's just sort of giving you that roadmap, which is important. And then obviously it's up to you to put in the work and make things happen.
Absolutely. And as well, I saw another interesting thing about Elon recently where we set goals, but then we also like set them so almost far away that it's like, okay, I've got to get all this done to achieve it. And I read something, I watched a video yesterday on this where he was like, there was this challenge that his team said, all right, this is going to take us 6 or 12 months to do. And he said, all right, we're flying there today and we're going to get it done in 24 hours. And they did.
Ridiculous.
And it's like, we set these goals that...
That's when he done the servers, I think. When he took out the servers from and the team was saying it's months, man.
Yeah.
We can't. And then he literally got out there, he got the trolleys, and he put him into the trolley. Yeah. But he's been around to it. You look at the NVIDIA guy that found it, and he's like, he's ridiculous because what he can achieve in such a small time frame, which would take other teams years, he's somehow got the capacity, and his team's got the capacity to do it days, months, whatever.
Yeah,
like
we
ridiculous.
Find out the ways to get there quicker when we shorten the time frame. So,
but that's just pure dedication and focus towards that one thing and aligned, focused.
Goal,
and which is brilliant. Which is, people should be looking at it and then going, that's actually, let's look at the probably most productive person in the world right now in terms of all these projects that he's got. What's he doing that's different?
Yeah.
But then it comes down to the question, what are you willing to sacrifice? Because most people don't want to work that much. You know what I mean? So then I always ask myself, anything's possible, but literally, what do I want to sacrifice?
Willing to sacrifice? Yeah.
That's the question.
Which is what a lot of people aren't willing to do. It's like, I want the goal, but I don't want the journey to get there.
Yeah.
And that's like, once again, going back to mental health, because obviously this podcast is, and my world is all mental health. Sometimes like the goal shouldn't be a destination, which is a really hard one, but it's like the goal is actually to continue making progress.
Yeah.
Like perfect mental health is an unachievable goal. But walking against the treadmill with the carrot of perfect mental health always being close is better than just standing there and letting it take you to mental illness. Like we have to...
There's a synergy, but there's a balance between the two.
Well, once again, that goal is that North Star,
you need the North Star.
So you can go towards it.
That's the exciting thing, especially when you pick the right North Star, right? That's the thing that's just like, but you have to realize yourself, you have to be, you have to be honest and say, that's... achieving the goal, you always hear it. There's a reason why people say the same thing, right? You've always heard those people, we got to the mountaintop and it wasn't what we expected. Like, so just understand that. Like, you might achieve all your goals, but it's not the result that matters. It's the journey.
It's the lessons that you learn. Like, The Alchemist is such a great book with that. It's like, have you read The Alchemist?
Yeah, back in the day,
Yeah, it's just fascinating. It's like, it's not about like the destination, it's a journey. Another great movie and book is The Peaceful Warrior. Have you seen that or read that?
I haven't seen it, no.
It's amazing. It's a great movie. It's like early 2000s. But anyway, there's this incredible quote that I love on it that says like, be conscious of your choices and take responsibility for your actions. Yeah. And so many of us like aren't doing that. And the other thing at the end of that movie, which is about that, is he says to this kid like, hey, we're going to like, at the top of this mountain, there's this amazing thing that I'm going to show you. And he's like, oh, okay, like, where is it? And they have a beautiful talk the whole way up the mountain and they talk about all this stuff. And they get to the top and he's like, well, where's the thing? And he's just like, looks at the ground and just picks up a rock and he goes, oh, there it is. And he's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, but didn't you have a great like chat and walk? And he's like, that was the more important thing than the
if we can understand that. Yeah, that's it, right? If you can find joy and fulfillment in your pursuit of your goals and your vision, that's
and it's
happiness.
Lessons you learn along it. And then, Yeah, it's just an interesting thing, goal setting. How do we set the right goals then? Because I know at the start of your journals, as you said, it's all about this self-reflection, self-awareness. What are my values? What do I want to achieve? Where do I want to be in 5 years?
Yeah.
And then breaking the goals down. So what's your advice for someone to set?
I mean, again,
goals?
yeah, that self-awareness piece is super important. That's the foundation, right? That makes you essentially, hopefully, pick the right goals that matter to you, towards your values.
Yeah.
That's got to, picking goals that you're passionate about. That's, I think, the clear thing.
Yeah.
Like, don't set goals that you hate or you don't want.
Set goals that somebody else or like
your expectations of you and all that.
Yeah, it's like, if I want to set this goal to be a millionaire. It's like, why do you want to set that
Exactly.
goal? Do you want it for the external validation, or is it something that you really want?
The feeling that you're chasing. So understanding the feeling that you're chasing is another component of it. You know what I mean? That $1 million thing is what is the feeling that, most people want respect, they want love, they want praise, they want all these things. So if you can at least understand that, it's got to help you make better decisions based upon that. Because otherwise we just get caught up with our ego and it's just like, I just want $1 million, I just want to be rich and who cares? But in terms of picking the right goals, I think passion's number one. And then making a framework that works for you. So, what, why, when, how, following that simple principle. What is it that I want? Be specific in terms of, try to get as specific as you can. Why do I want it? So in terms of understand the feelings that you're chasing, why is it important that you want it? And then there's stuff there based around, sometimes picking goals based upon fear or happiness. You know what I mean? Like if I don't do this.
You're running towards something or away from something.
Yeah. Or if I don't do this, if I don't start getting my act together when it comes to health and fitness, I'll probably die young and won't see my kids grow up. And that promotes, that helps me sometimes.
Yeah.
My dad had a heart attack at 52.
Yeah, wow.
He wasn't overweight. He wasn't a smoker. He wasn't a drinker. It was just hereditary. It happened. Plaque built up and he had a big heart attack. So that's always in the back of my head. It's just like, I need to get back on track, start exercising regularly. But then again, I found, little stuff that I enjoy. So I'm passionate about, I'm enjoying boxing now. Yeah. So I've found an activity that I really enjoy and I've picked, 3 or 4 sessions. I haven't said I need to do 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I've got the approach of always something as opposed to all or nothing. So as I get older, the approach has changed from like, I need to be a gun. I need to be, every day working out. I need to be doing this. Just move, get the body moving, do something that you enjoy, make progress, make more better decisions based upon what you eat. Yeah. And things will start to happen.
Yeah. It's those incremental changes.
Incremental.
And it's all about just trying to like go back to the metaphor of like the ship trying to get to north.
Yeah.
Every day we're going to like start to paddle off a little bit, but then we come back to our values, we come back to our goals and we get back on course. We come off, we get back on 100%. Course. And I heard, I spoke to a guy recently and I went on his podcast and he gave me like a really beautiful thing that he does every night. Because obviously I'm big on gratitude every night. And he's like, he said he does 4 things every night. I forgot the 3rd and 4th, but the 1st and 2nd, and I think I mentioned this in another podcast a week ago that will probably just have come out with a psychologist back. But I'll mention it again because I think it's great. He's like, I write down 3 things I'm grateful for every day.
Yeah.
But then he also asks himself the question, did I live with integrity today? And when he mentions that, I want to tie that into goals of, did I live with integrity to my values and my goals today? Was I walking a step towards my goal or a step away? Yeah. And that's pulling the shit back on that direction. And I think so many of us are missing that self-awareness and self-reflection piece. And the journals and the diaries are an incredible way to stay accountable.
100%. I mean, in a perfect world, think about a perfect situation. We would all have a life coach telling us all these things. So you'd wake up in the morning, Cooper, and it'd be like, hey, tell me what you're grateful for. Tell me the 3 things you want to focus on. What are we working towards? Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have all that. Yeah. So we have to find tools, and whether it be an app, whether it be a journal, that can help us steer in the right direction. And be accountable to something, to someone. Yeah. So I always think, you always look at athletes, you know what I mean? AFL athletes, they've got coaches telling them when to eat, what their goals are. So it makes it a lot easier. Like that's ingrained in them, that whole goal setting process. But unfortunately, the general society, we don't have that luxury. So we have to become our own life coach. Yeah. So that's the whole approach when I look at the products and the things that we create. It's like, how can we become our own life coach? Yeah. What are the questions we need to ask ourselves? Our default generally as people is not great. My default is comfort. Yeah. Stay away from anything that's scary. Don't do anything crazy. I got brought up on
that. Biologically wired like that, safety.
And then obviously your upbringing, I was like that for 24, 25 years living at home. It was just like, don't do that, don't do this. What if this happens? What if that happens? So I've had to sort of slowly, and I'll never get rid of that anxiety or that fear, but I can sort of learn to manage it better.
Yeah, Absolutely.
And that's my approach. It's like, and I know using the products when I'm going through tough times, I'm like, I sometimes surprise myself. I'm like, this product's actually really good because it works. It gets me out of my head. There's studies that say we've got 50,000 thoughts per day in our head. And it's, how do we get the right thoughts in there? How do we trigger our brain to sort of get out of default and do something that's positive?
Yeah.
Like this, it's just like literally managing yourself.
And that's just finding the tools that work for you. If getting those thoughts out.
Yep.
For me, I find meditation is that for me.
Yep.
By meditating, it allows me to put the thoughts and almost like I say to people, it's like I'm cleaning my room. It's like, all right, I've got a dirty cup there. I'm going to put it in the kitchen.
Yep.
All right, I've got clothes there. I'm going to put them in the washing basket. Or I've got clean clothes. I'm going to fold them and put them away. That's like all my thoughts getting put away. And then I don't need to think about them in...
Well, it's the chaos, right?
It's like...
We're decluttering the chaos.
Exactly.
And especially now with all, social media and all that, there's chaos every single minute, every single second.
Yeah.
So we have to find out tools. I think everyone should, make it their own responsibility to find tools that helps them declutter that chaos in their head.
For sure.
Otherwise, we're just going spiraling out of control.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. We need some sense of control in our life. And obviously, if we can dedicate our actions towards something that's meaningful, that's even better, as opposed to just being organized, being clean, being thingo. It's like, all right, put your effort towards being that, but also working towards something that matters, creating some form of legacy.
Yeah, I love that. Let's go back into talking about building the business of MiGoals. So you're still working for the DVD store.
Yep.
How long into
6
the
years.
business? 2 years. Yeah, you went full time. 6 years.
So
That's
6 years.
Huge, bro.
Yeah.
Like I'm 5 years into the Good Human Factory.
Yeah.
Like it feels like it'd be crazy if I wasn't full time yet. But yeah.
But people don't know. I mean, look, you got to look at where I was in terms of,
Well, you got a young family, you got a mortgage, you need the security. Yeah.
Second child on the way as well. So I remember working out, we built our home. So I'll take you through this story, and we call it the hardest 3 months of our lives.
Yeah, please do.
And me and my ex-business partner, we always used to joke about it, and we'd run a blog, and we moved into our new house. So we owner built our brand new home 2014. I think we moved in August 2014. I remember I was running the business out of my study, and the garage was the warehouse. And then we used to print locally here in Melbourne as well. So that's why it took us so long as well. So the margins weren't there.
They're terrible, yeah.
So we were printing here in Port Melbourne for the first 4 or 5 years. We weren't making any money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're paying like $11, $12 wholesale for one journal, and then you're retailing it or selling it to the retailer for like $14, $15.
No.
Yeah. So but I knew that. I was just like, let's just prove the concept. And also we're running in cycles, right? 6 months worth of selling diaries, which was our main.
Yeah, because yours always is a 12-month.
Exactly.
Quite often a 12-month.
Then it goes quiet.
It's like goes really quiet. Yeah.
And then we just build up the next. So there's a reason why it's that longer period, but also obviously with the family and that. So anyway, we move in August, no furniture. My wife, we have the second child September, and she had a cesarean. So literally we had no furniture. She's immobile for the next few months. We get I think it could have been like 10, 15,000 units into my garage. And back in the day, we had to take them out of the box, get a shrink wrap or the pockets, and repocket them, re-sleeve them. Oh. And then we'd have to repackage and put them in the box and then send them out to retailers. We're already behind the 8 ball because retailers, they want diaries around September. It was September, we've just received them. By the time they get them, it would be October. Yeah. And if they get them too late, they won't take them off us because they can't sell them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we used to work, I'll go to work full time, come home, and then we'd have packing parties at my place. Like my business partner, Danny, who's with us now, and a couple of people would come over, order pizzas, and we'll just pack, re-slip. And then at the same time, we launch online, and Etsy, someone does a write-up for us in Etsy, that starts going gangbusters.
Yeah, wow.
So every night till that 2, 3 in the morning, new place, would open up the garage. My business partner would take these rug sacks of product, throw them into his car, hooded. We all had hoodies and it's cold, and next door neighbours thought we're drug dealers. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They would have seen these kids just sort of every night, just literally 2, 3 in the morning, open the garage, throw the products in the boot and drive off, and again the next day. But that happened for that went for a couple months.
Wow.
And it was just like managing the personal life in terms of looking after 2 kids, brand new baby. And at the same time, I started a new full-time role. So I had to go to Sunshine Coast and do like a 7-day induction. And it was just like, but I did it. And we grew at that time. And it was, that proving to yourself, getting uncomfortable is when the magic happens. Get out of your comfort zone. And we always we went back to that story. It's like, we just got to get uncomfortable again. When things get too comfortable, you're not making much progress.
Yeah. Which I love this part of your story, because I'm sure there's people that look from the outside in. There always is with every good, business that's successful. You look from the outside and think it's an overnight success, but that's why I love doing this podcast, because it shows that, hey, there's no shortcut to success. You've got to be able to do those late nights. You've got to grind for years to be able to get something to the level where people are like, oh, wow, overnight success.
Yeah,
literally. This thing.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. So when was your first, big break, would you call it, where you're like, okay, when did you go offshore for printing so you could make
that was then when we went full time, so 2015 2016.
Okay,
so we go offshore to China through an agent. Smooth first print run, you know what I mean? You'd always hear those stories, and that was probably what delayed us going offshore, was always hearing the bad stories of, be careful what you get. Sometimes you get and it's like, oh, we'll give it a crack. And the first year went really smoothly, great, product was fantastic, there was no issues. And then, so I went into it full time. My business partner had a graphic design studio, so he was sort of in and out, semi part time. And then he goes in around 2018 full time into it as well. Had our offices there in Moorabbin, but it's it's been a very organic growth. We haven't had the big blow up. We've had some good wins across the time. We've had some good influencers use the product. We've had some great people, sports stars, influencers.
Give me a name or two. I know I was just at Steph.
Steph. Steph.
Miller. I stayed at her house last night. She's a legend. They did a kick journal with you guys. I know.
Well, Steph was one of the first ones that from an influencer perspective that used it. And when we found out, we were super excited. It's like Steph's using our products. It's like, cool. What? That sort of gives you like, okay, there's people that are successful out there using your product to help you. Then we've had Hayley Razzo, who's a Matilda player. She's used it. We've had some good people use it. I mean, yourself, you've tried it before. Like, the funny thing is now, 14 years on, like, we're just down at Sorrento the other week, me and my wife, for a midweek break. And, even the girl at the spa, it's like, she goes, what's your name? What's your email address? Adam at MiGoals. She goes, I use your products.
Oh, no way.
And like,
how good did that make you feel?
Amazing. Like the gym, the local gym, same thing happened. What's your email address? Oh, you work for MiGoals. And it's my business. And he goes, joke, man, I've been using your product. Cafe around the corner, same thing. What do you do? Write books. What books? Goal setting, MiGoals. Bullshit. You know what I mean? So those are the humbling moments, because I'm not there in the public. I'm not there in the spotlight, so I don't see it a lot.
Until you tell someone your email, they're like, oh, no way.
Yeah, it's a nice feeling. Even my wife looked at me and she's like, you get excited. And it's like, oh, people actually respect what you're doing, and it's humbling at the same time. So across the journey, we've had some really nice people use it and help us. But I think it's just been an organic growth.
And then once online became kind of a bigger thing, was that a big part, or would you say more of your work, or like more of your revenue is through retail?
It's a split. It's a pretty even split.
Yeah, wow.
So we've got 3 channels. We've got online, we've got retail, and then we've got business, like corporate brands and stuff like that.
Buy them for their staff.
And we've got some big brands using them. But we've had Apple, we've had Snapchat, Canva keep ordering from us for gratitude journals. So Lululemon as well. So some really cool brands that keep using the product. Again, that's another thing that sort of makes us feel like, okay, people actually like what we're doing, which is cool.
Valuable.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But yeah, it's just, over time, it's, put one step in front of the other and just continue to sort of wait for that big virality moment. But then again, if you get that big virality moment, you're probably not ready for it.
Yeah.
Like, we're seasonal. I have to place an order in March for our diaries ahead of the season.
Yeah, that's gnarly.
And then
how hard is it to get it right? You're stocking.
Well, you're waiting on your distributor.
Journeys that have, you got your diaries that have your
dates on it.
Dates on them, so you can't resell it. You can't sit on a year-old stock. Like, what do you do with your stock?
Well, some years it sells out. Some years you're left with some. We've been pretty good in terms of calculating what the ratio. So you're never left with huge amounts.
Yeah.
And then obviously what we do is we
never sell out and go like, oh my god, we should have ordered more.
Yeah, there's times like that.
Late print,
once it's gone, it's gone. But with China now, especially after COVID, it was like a 90 to 120 day, slightly delayed at times, and especially that time of year as well. If you try to do a reprint around Christmas, they're going into Chinese New Year into Feb. You got no chance. And freight's really expensive, so you can't air freight it over, which is ridiculous. I don't know how Australian businesses do it. Like, that's a different conversation, but it's really tricky. But yeah, in terms of what we do is we get the retailers, they place a pre-order around March, April. So we've got distributors for Australia, New Zealand, and UK, and in Europe. So they give us their numbers, their pre-orders. That's allocated towards them. And then we base the rest of how much can we sell online, how much can we sell to corporates. And that comes to this warehouse,
Yeah, it's nuts. So you're doing it all around the world. So you're in pretty much most countries. Do you
Most
sell
countries
online to globally?
Yeah,
Do you have
globally, yeah.
warehouses like globally that
We
they
don't
go
have-
from, or
No, it goes. So it goes from here. We're setting up Amazon US.
Yeah.
Again, the 3PL offshore. It comes down to volume. So again, it's a risk and it's a sacrifice, time consuming thing that you really have to put your effort into. So there's some brands that blow up and that have they have people from around the world requesting that they come into that marketplace. We could do okay, but then again, we know we have to set up a thingo, we have to get stock there, then we have to promote there.
Yeah.
You basically have to be on the ground there to set it up properly and make sure you do it right, justice. So
tough?
it's a tough thing, especially here in Australia. Like, I remember listening to the guy from Gymshark founder, who's $1 billion thinker, and he was talking when he started. One of the biggest benefits they had was the fact that they were based in the UK. And he actually mentioned, he goes, there was a couple of Australian brands, and it was one of the podcasts. He goes, there's some really good Australian brands, and I think I know who they are, that were neck and neck with them, doing similar product, growing quite steadily at the same rate. But the biggest difference between Gymshark and the Australian brands was location. How they could scale.
Population in proximity.
Proximity, freight. Like, okay, you order from the UK, from Australia, by the time it comes over, it's like 13 to 15 business days.
Yeah, and you lose all your margins on the freight.
The margins, and the consumer has to pay that margin. Is in most cases, they have to pay that extra. Whereas in the UK, it's 1 to 2 day delivery, even to the States. So they're quite central in that respect that they can cover, the big markets. Whereas here in Australia, it's tricky.
It's tough. Yeah. It's not the population. Like in America, you've got 330 million people that you can sell to.
Yeah.
Here you've got less than 30 million.
Yeah.
So it's like you've got 10% the amount. It's like bloody hard to...
We could be 5x if we were in America, if we were based in America.
Yeah,
5x
exactly.
the size we are now.
Exactly. And
minimum.
with the exchange rate more.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
Yeah.
How many diaries have you sold in 14 years? Have you got an approximate number?
I think we're around the mil. Yeah.
Good
mil
idea.
mark. Yeah.
That's sick.
So it's definitely it's been a long journey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the scary thing is with today's age, with social media, that number doesn't sound big at all. You hear of brands doing that in one Black Friday sale. Yeah, we got to, and that's what we're as young entrepreneurs, we always get these highlight reels from all these different brands. It's like, hey, we done $10 million in Black Friday. And it's like, shit, you know what I mean? So it makes you feel sometimes a little bit like you're not
failing.
Yeah.
It's like you've sold 1 million diaries. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, but it's in 14.
Imagine if you've sold 1 million copies of a book in 14 years. Like, you're a massive bestseller. And if you look at it through that lens, and
you got a different, you got to take off the lens and look at it in a different way. Otherwise, you get caught up in this whole.
Well, that's what I mean. At the end of the day, you are writing a new book each year. You've sold 1 million copies of your book.
Yeah.
It's pretty bloody impressive. Let's go through the now the range that you've got, because anyone who's not watching, which a lot of people would just be listening, I'm looking at Adam right now, and he has a big shelf behind him with a whole range of awesome different products on there. So do you want to talk me through it? The thing that I actually love the most, because as I said before, like, I've got diaries pretty much every year of my life, and I just haven't been able to get it done.
Yeah.
But the products that I love of yours are your notepads, which is so cool. So how important was it for you to pivot and have more than just the diaries in the range? And talk me through the different
I think from a business
have.
sense, we had to. Yeah. Like, you need to find those non-dated products that sell all the way throughout the year.
Exactly.
And again, we're still primarily focused on the diaries. That's what we're renowned for. But I think from a business sense, it was important for us to expand the range. Mm-hmm. And then also from a user-friendly base, like, I always believe there's not one product that fits all. Mm-hmm. And then essentially, in terms of, if you want to get a year, have a really good year, the products that you probably need a mix of 2 or 3 products. Mm-hmm. You need something that you can see on a daily visual.
Yeah.
You need something where you can see the longer term picture, whether it be monthly or a yearly based focus.
Yeah.
And you need something probably to carry around and take notes with.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I sort of manage the range. It's just like, okay, so if you've got a Gold Digger weekly planner, you probably should get a yearly wall planner so you can see the bigger picture. You've got the weekly base thinger, and then you might have a little get shit done notebook or a pad on your desk to write the day-to-day stuff if you need to.
Yeah.
So you're doubling up in some cases or tripling up, but then again,
okay, I'll get this and this. Yeah.
But it cohesively works together.
Increasing the order value.
Well, increase it, but even for the consumer, right? It's like, okay, now they can see the big picture, right?
Yeah.
Now they've got the week. Now they've got the daily. So they're covering all aspects, really. It's like, okay, whereas I think one product, you could probably get away with it, but I use 3 or 4, mix them up. I sometimes use a progress journal, which is based around the daily practice.
Yeah.
There's times when I really need to knuckle down and focus. I'll go to a progress journal.
Yeah.
I like the structure. It's like, all right, what am I grateful for? What do I need to focus on? What are my key habits for today? To-do list, nightly reflection.
Yeah.
And just hit that hard for the next 90 days. And then obviously have the wall planner. So sometimes I'm in the study, I look at, okay, cool, we've got these things coming ahead. These are the key goals for the year. That's what I want to work towards.
Yeah.
So again, just reframing and constantly triggering the brain to think positive about where I'm heading.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think having those goals and having the big like wall plan is something that I love, having like the yearly calendar. And I think it's good for your mental health in a way that it can help lower anxiety because it's kind of, okay, I know what's coming up there. I can start to plan for it rather than it just be in your head and like, all right, what have I got on there? It's like, that can really help with your mental health. Definitely. Just having clarity on, where you're going.
And even
really what goals are.
There's days I struggle. And then my whole process is like next 3. And then I might, whether it be a piece of paper or my app, in the notes section, just go next 3. So then I just like get rid of all the clutter in my head and it's like, what do I need to do? What's the next 3 things?
Yeah.
Tick them off and then again, write the next 3 after that.
Yeah.
So there's little triggers and there's little tools that I've developed in my own head, in my own routine that accompany what we've already got that help me get through these times.
Yeah.
Because I look at life as like, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 4 steps back. You know what I mean? It's constantly up and down.
Yeah.
So you got to find out these ways to sort of get back on track. And then if you want to have a good life, I always look at a good stock.
Yeah.
Overall, if you want to look at a 10-year period, it's got to go up and down, but generally the trajectory is up.
Yeah.
So that's my picture in my head. It's just like, all right, shit, I've had a bad week. I've had a bad month. How do I get back on track? Yeah. That's that that's that little, the market's
constantly
crashed.
Moving up, yeah.
But over time, if you look at the bigger picture, it's going up. The line is up.
For sure.
Whereas if you look at the month, it might be down, 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 up a little bit, down, 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 but that's just a part of it.
Overall, yeah.
So I've gamified it in terms of my own head. It's like, I need to work out this shit for myself because I struggle. I struggle with anxiety. I struggle with mental health stuff. You know what I mean? I'm always, critical of my own stuff. I'm my own worst enemy, basically.
Yeah.
That self-talk, sometimes it can be bad. Sometimes it can be really good. I can be an optimist. I can be a pessimist.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a crazy thing what's going on up in our head.
But it goes up with like the acceptance that we aren't perfect is just like, that's helped me so much. It's just like, this is what it is. This is who I am. I'm never going to be perfect. I'm never going to have, times where I'm just, there's got to be good times. There's got to be bad times.
For sure.
So,
that's just part of life, and trying to accept that is so important. 2 things I want to finish with. First one, with the digitalization of so much stuff, with so many apps out there now, with planners and, your Girl Guide thing and all these apps out there, have you had it like the inkling to try and pivot and turn it into a digital thing as well? Has it really affected your business? And what are the plans in the future
has it
with
affected,
MiGoals?
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer the question. Has it affected a business? Probably not. In terms of, I think the users become hybrid.
Yeah.
I think there's, case in point yourself. Everyone that I talk to, they're like, oh, what do you think of technology? And I'm like, do you have a notebook? Oh, yeah, I sometimes use a notebook. I use a desk pad, and then I got my phone. That's what the user has become. Yeah. Like we're yearning to go back to simplicity. And I think, you look at when the ebook reader came out, and everyone's saying that's the death of books. Yeah. And for that little period, it was, there was obviously the big decline, but then people have gone back to that tangible, hold it, collect it, get away from your phone. Like, I think we're all self-aware that the phone isn't great.
Yeah.
It's obviously got a lot of good stuff, but generally for our mental health and our dopamine release, it's just
avoidance.
It's
avoiding
terrible.
Being in reality.
Yeah.
Jump in there to disappear from what's going on.
And the way it's heading, it's only going to get worse, right? Let's imagine VR headsets really take hold. And remember, was it Ready Player One? If you've seen the movie,
scary, isn't it?
That's literally what the metaverse, Ready Player One. People will live their life through the metaverse like that. That's my inkling. I tell my kids, I'm like, watch this movie that just predicted the future if it keeps going that way.
It's so scary. I'm like, I just want to go live on a little farm and be in a community with
but
my
that's the thing.
Raise kids, and like, why have we created this world where I don't even know the word, just like, okay, everything has to be a constant dopamine hit. And it's, I think that's...
But that's not our fault. That's just the way we're wiring our brains now.
Well, that's
it's
just the way that we're wiring it with capitalism. It's like, here, quick hit, you pay for it. Quick hit, you pay for it. Right? How do we make a product that fills that need? How do we make a product that fills that need?
I don't even think they knew at one stage.
So many products. Like, I'm like, all the bloody health products that women put on their face. And, there's 1,000 different things that you got to put in your hair and on your face and in your teeth and on this and that. It's like, wait, up until like 50 years ago, and we created all these chemicals, like, we didn't need any of that stuff. And people got by pretty well.
But they're the ones that are selling. That's a crazy thing. I've got the same thoughts, right? I'm like, here I am trying to create a product that's going to, hopefully change people's lives. And yeah, you hear of all these stories about, yes, make drink bottles, this and that, like blowing up and becoming Goliaths in the business. And it's like, I'm like,
it's actually the story and selling the
how many water bottles, how many pieces of makeup do you need? Like we, great, I've got one here, but like we don't. And then I've got this journal that's got, goal setting, personal development, and yet people, you know what I mean? We want the quick fix.
Yeah, it's not easy. But I feel like, we'll see what happens in the coming years.
I think it's only going to, it'll probably get, obviously it's going to get worse.
It gets better.
But then I think the self-awareness piece, the logical, most people's discussion is the same. Most people's answers are the same. Like they're sick. They know the phone's not doing them any good. And it's addictive. So that's why they keep going back to it. I do the same.
Yeah.
But that's why we're looking out for different tools. That's why pen and paper, going back to basics.
Gets you away from it, yeah.
Clearing the mind, sitting down on a Sunday night just to plan the week ahead.
Yeah.
10, 15 minutes. And like how much more relief I feel after doing that. Mm-hmm. Like how much better. Just like I feel better now. You know what I mean?
The clarity
Chaos
for the week,
is gone. Clarity, focus, and go with it.
Yeah.
As opposed to just like always in the head.
Yeah.
That's what's killing us.
Yeah. For sure.
Going back to simple principles, working out, socializing. You can see like a revolution of that coming along.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. Well, this has been an amazing chat. I'll leave in the show notes everything to find MiGoals. Maybe you can send me a code and we can do a little discount code for Christmas.
Well, we've got Black Friday start. I mean, depending when it comes out.
I don't know if this will come out in time. I was thinking of putting this out kind of in the middle of December as like a bit of a goal setting and get ready for 2025.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah,
so... Yeah, if you're in the market for a diary after today, you got inspired about goal setting, maybe we'll make the code Good Human and you can give them a little 10% code or something.
Something more. We'll do something more.
We'll do something to give the Good Human listeners a little thing. But as I told you before we started, my audience don't really like to buy stuff. They barely buy my merch. But I am grateful for everyone who does pick up some merch. But for the amount of people who listen to the pod and support my work, which I'm so grateful for, not many people like to buy stuff, but hopefully a couple buy some journals. And as well, we'll keep chatting about doing a gratitude journal because I know looking at your wall right now, and I have had a few of them from you, the gratitude journals are amazing. So
just that, gratitude's such an important part. So, I mean, we didn't talk much about it, but gratitude is like that simplistic thing that we can all do.
Yeah.
Like spend a minute, 2 minutes a day, just sort of getting back into that thing because we get carried away with life. Yeah. It's always about going forward and this and just taking time and just going, what a beautiful day. Yeah. Like I play golf a lot and it's like just sometimes...
Fuck, we should go play golf on it.
We should.
I don't have time.
How long are you here for?
I leave on
next
Wednesday night. Yeah, I played down at the National. I did a workshop at the National a couple months ago for their greenskeepers and they let me play 9 holes after.
National's amazing.
Sick.
I done Royal Melbourne 2 weeks ago.
Fun.
That was crazy. That was really good.
So good. Well, man, I'm going to leave everything in the show notes so we can connect. I want to do a gratitude journal and like we've touched on before. I want to do like a drink bottle that's be kind to your body, a keep cup that's be kind to your the environment, and then a journal that's be kind to your mind. Get out of your mind your gratitude stuff. So
I think it's a great idea, man. We'll get it done.
Yeah, we'll get that done. But mate, this has been amazing. The last question I do always ask every guest on the podcast is the same. So what does being a good human mean to Adam Jelic?
Legacy, I mean, it just means doing the things I said I wanted to do, just being, treating others as I like to be treated. Yeah. Going back to that simple principle, I think that's the best way to approach it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's some people that treat you like a dick, but, in most cases, how would I feel? Them back, exactly. Like, treat people as you would like to be treated and you'll go far in life.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for jumping on. It's been an amazing chat. And everyone go check out MiGoals and check out everything going on with the Good Human Factor over Christmas. Go set some goals for 2025. They're going to be far more achievable if you write them down. If 100%. You get clear
increase your odds, guys.
Yeah.
That's it, man. Odds. Literally, AB. Always think of AB in person. The person that doesn't have any goals, doesn't have a vision, doesn't do anything, no good habits versus person B. Sets goals, has a vision, has some good habits. Who's going to succeed?
Yeah. Love that. Well, thanks, mate. It's been a great chat for jumping on Good Humans podcast.
Appreciate it, Cooper. All the best.